All right, and we're live. Welcome, Blueprint family. Thank you all for joining us for another episode to help you all out with your relationship situations. We have a great topic for you all, and that topic is why accountability is so triggering and what to do about it. I know that you all know somebody that needs to hear this, whether you are in a relationship with someone who gets triggered for a reason or for no reason at all, and it may seem as if that there's some accountability issues dealing with that person or either their situation that they're going through. Also, too, I mean, just accountability in general, dealing with, being responsible for yourself, your actions, your feelings, and then also too the relationship and how well you yourself are doing with your emotions and looking after your significant other. So I think that is a great topic. So let's go ahead and dive right in on it.
Yeah, we received a question that states, my spouse doesn't seem to care how her behaviors affect me. She just says, oh, well, that's just me, or you caused me to do that. What do I do? It was a very simple question, so there's no need to really pull it up on the screen, but it brings us right into our topic of accountability because that's really what this
That
is
was real
about.
quick. Can you go back real
Yeah,
quick?
yeah, yeah.
My
I
spot.
meant should I have pulled it up on the screen? I didn't write it down. I didn't. Usually I copy it from when we get it on our website and pull it up so y'all can see it too. But this is so quick. Anyways, the question was, my spouse doesn't seem to care how her behaviors affect me. She just says, oh well, that's just me, or you caused me to do that. What do I do?
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. She has to be empathetic first of all and understanding. But yeah, we could dive in on that and elaborate more about what that means, especially
Yeah.
in this day and age. Relationship wise, I like our close up. We got a real close up on
This time,
us.
yeah.
I like
Looking
that.
good
Yeah.
on YouTube. What's up, YouTube? Thank you all for joining us. And Facebook. Let's check on in on Instagram real quick. Make sure we're looking good. We're looking good. Thank you all for joining
Joining us. Yeah.
us. Yeah, so this topic of accountability for definition purposes, right?
Right.
Accountability is a state of being responsible for one's own actions and being able to be held responsible for them. It is the willingness to accept one's responsibility for their decisions and to also be transparent about it. That's one that, is commonly left out, but that goes right along with accountability, being transparent. And this is really important in all aspects of life, but it is especially important in our personal relationships.
hmm I got this motto I wanted to share with everybody, and I think I said it before. Is that when I was growing up, especially in my 20s, and people and females that I dated, and if they did not, and if they acted up in public, my friends saw it. And I would always tell my friends that I am not responsible for their irresponsibilities. It reminds me of the brick lady and her in the situation of her wanting a man to fight for her. And I said that because we do need to hold ourselves accountable for our actions, the things that we say, not to instigate arguments or things like that, but also to it just shows a level of maturity and respect for yourself, and then also to
Yeah.
the other people that are around you
Yeah.
as well. So,
Yeah.
we're here to provide a lot of relationship advice and information about accountability. But yeah, so being accountable in a relationship means acknowledging the effect your behaviors have on your spouse and owning how you contribute to the negative cycle.
Yeah.
So we're going to talk about that and what does that mean?
Yeah, because a relationship really is a two-way street, right? Two-way street. It's never just one person's fault on why the relationship is not working or, has not worked. Sometimes we hear that out there like, oh, it wasn't me or whatever, or it's a whole bunch of things ways we can get into how this can take place. But being accountable really just means instead of blaming your spouse, about what happened, you start to think about, what could I do to better the situation? And that's the most important thing.
It is. Regardless thereof, if you're being triggered per
Yeah.
se, you have to understand too that you also have to be accountable for your actions and moving forward. Because, like they always say, two wrongs do not make a right in
Oh,
any situation.
right.
So it's always best to keep a level head and be mature about the situation and just try your best to resolve what's going on.
Right. For sure. I got
So
an eyelash in my eye. I'm sorry.
it'd be like that. You know, I'll be
What in the world?
usually sometimes the lotion gets in my eyes and I'll be blinking and blinking.
This is a
I'll
live
get
show,
burnt.
y'all. This is live. This is live. So you get all of it. No, but you're so right with it being, being triggered. So why do some people get triggered by accountability? I think this is important to address in general so that people are aware of it. And especially within your relationship, it allows you that empathy, that understanding, even if, your spouse is the one that needs to be taking accountability. So let's dig on into that. Why are some people triggered?
One is fear of judgment or criticism.
Yeah.
Being defensive about that, I think.
Uh-uh.
So when someone is asked to be accountable, it can feel like they are being judged or criticized.
Right.
So when this is going on, this can be especially difficult in a relationship where people want to feel loved and accepted for who they are. So
Yeah.
to me, it's like a defense it is a defense mechanism. So instead
Yeah.
of this, and then you get locked in on trying to defend yourself as opposed to you defend yourself and then start attacking the other person as opposed to trying to reconcile what the issue is and trying to resolve the issue.
Right.
You're getting your feelings. Stop getting into your feelings.
Yeah. It's
About
gotta be
things.
objective.
Yeah, and think rationally about, all right, okay. Don't bait yourself in trying to argue with someone just because you're not feeling good. And don't expect for them to want to don't try to look for them to try to attack you in any other way just to keep an argument going for the sake of the fact that you're not up, you're not feeling your best.
Yeah. Accountability, another big one I think about is fear of failure, right? So truth be told, accountability means you got to admit your mistakes. You got to admit when things are wrong. And that can be difficult, especially if, you yourself may be struggling with the idea of, am I good enough? Right? Like, am I really able to succeed at this? It can be really difficult, especially with that fear of failure, to admit to your spouse that, hey, I'm not my best right now. I messed up, like, you still love me? Like that could be a very daunting thing, but it's a very humbling experience that we all have to go through and be willing to go through it so that we can grow. And that's really the big thing with all of this. You want to be able to grow. So can't be afraid to fail. It happens and that's okay. We all deal with that.
Right. And another one is fear of conflict.
Yeah.
So bringing up accountability can sometimes lead to conflict, of course. So this can be especially true if the other person is not used to being held accountable. So what does that mean? So some people are not used to being held accountable. They haven't had to be raised with siblings. They are not raised with people around them or friends around them who try to make them responsible for their actions.
Tell them the truth.
Right. Or tell them the truth, things like that. So they may feel defensive or attacked. And this can make the conversation very difficult.
Yeah, and I think this is what's going on with, or it could be just one of the reasons of what's going on with the person that wrote in particular, because usually if somebody gets defensive or, they feel like they're being attacked, then it's a fear somewhere laying in there. And a lot of that times, sometimes you just don't want to have that conflict with your spouse. So, you may just be quick to be like, that ain't true. That ain't, what do you mean? That ain't happening. No.
Right.
Yeah.
Another one is a lack of trust. So if there is a lack of trust in a relationship, it can be difficult to bring up accountability. This is because the person may not believe that their spouse will be understanding or supportive.
Yeah.
Trust, lack of trust. If you all have been married for so long, there's no need, and you all have been, are loyal to each other. There's no need to have a lack of trust in the situation of which you are having accountability issues.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, and that can happen. And we're going to be sure to go through how to bring this up to your spouse so that it's better received. That's really what all of this is about, because there's going to be times where you're going to need to be held accountable, your spouse is going to be need to held accountable, but in the midst of that, you want to make sure that you're approaching this in a way where it is accepted, the person understands, and it's not, just rejected by your spouse, or they start to fight or whatever.
Mhm. Thanks for that thumbs up. We really appreciate that. Someone thumbs up our video on YouTube already.
Yeah,
So while we're
thank
talking,
you.
I really appreciate that. We really appreciate that. Like we always, I want to say this as well. This is a live call-in show, so this show is not ours. This show is you all's, all
Yeah.
of you all's show. So by any means, at any time, if you all want to chime in, comments, questions, live video chat, live audio chat with us, you can do so. So this is
Yeah.
one of those places where it is safe for you to bring your own topics, and we can digest those and then help you sort these things out to give you a resolution about whatever it is that you may be going through, dealing with family, life, relationship, love, etc., marriage, etc. So let's go to the next one. So number 5 is history of abuse or neglect. So
Mhm.
people who have a history of abuse or neglect may be especially triggered by accountability. So this is because they may have learned to associate accountability with negative consequences.
Yeah.
So
Like they might have been abused
of course,
because of, and there's many ways that can happen, but
right.
yeah,
I think all of this comes from abuse of some sorts.
possibly some type
Um,
of trauma, you mean?
yeah, some sort of trauma,
Mhm.
rather.
Yeah. I mean, it really can. Our society is rooted in that. That's why we always talk about it, and that's okay. We are aware of it. So that means that we can work to actively fix things and change things.
Right.
And that's okay.
First, you got to be aware of it, though.
Mhm.
And that's what we're doing. We're bringing awareness to these situations and relationships.
Yeah.
Um, and we're guiding people through these things, and it really works. You just got to recognize it first, and then you have to resolve it.
Yeah.
So next, of course, mental health conditions. So people with mental health conditions such as anxiety, depression may also find it difficult to be accountable or want to take accountability.
Yeah.
So this is because they may have low self-esteem or feel like they are not worthy of love and acceptance.
Yeah, and that's one I think is commonly overlooked, but it can go right along with that fear of conflict. Or if you get anxiety about, arguing with your spouse, you don't want to, you love them, you care about them. Or, like you were saying, if you're depressed and you don't feel worthy of love and acceptance, having to take accountability makes a part of you feel like, am I worth this? Like, does that mean that my spouse doesn't love me or whatever that is? But all of that is important to be able to face and understand that your spouse is here to help you to grow, and especially relationships, it offers that opportunity of mirroring each other so that then you can then fine tune each other, and that's the beautiful part of it. So don't get so hard on yourself. We all need to grow within our relationships for sure.
Yeah, the problem is though, if one spouse is having a hard time or not just taking accountability in the relationship, a number of
Yeah.
negative consequences can occur.
Yeah.
Including number one, trust erosion. So
Yeah.
when one spouse is not accountable for their actions, or going through a negative episode, it can erode trust in the relationship. So the spouse may start to feel like they cannot rely on their spouse, or that they are being taken advantage of.
Mhm.
So understand that.
Yeah.
You need to are we going to give, of course we're going to give resolutions to all of this stuff, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, so next one is increased conflict. So a lack of accountability can also lead to increased conflict in a relationship, of course, because you're always looking for someone else to blame, right?
Yeah.
So this is because the spouse who is not taking accountability may be more likely to blame the other spouse for problems, or make excuses for their own behaviors.
Yeah.
Believe it or not, people, we all can solve our own problems. We really can. We just need a little help sometimes, and it can be done if you allow people to help you, and also if you take advice, sound advice,
Mhm.
and understand that not everyone is out here trying to hurt you.
Yeah.
So you have to be willing and able to, like I said, solve your own problems.
Yeah. Yeah. Because if you don't, it will certainly lead to resentment, like you had
Yes.
mentioned. Because if one spouse is taking on all the accountability within the relationship, they might start to feel resentful towards you. And this, is certainly because they will feel like they're being treated unfairly. And in a way, they are. It's, again, a two-way street within a relationship. And you want to make sure that your spouse is getting their support and you're holding up, your end of the bargain and taking accountability when it comes up. So then that way your spouse doesn't resent you. Resentment is a very silent relationship killer. So
Right.
certainly don't let that get in the
Before
way.
you get there, communicate. Before
Yeah.
you get to a situation to where you're having resentment in your relationship, please communicate anything that you need to your spouse, whether it's emotional support, whether it's physical support, or what have you. There are
Mhm.
ways to prevent this situation of resentment and competition in a relationship. It doesn't
Mhm.
necessarily have to happen, but a lot of times it happens because you all are not communicating about it.
Yeah.
And something often at times the other spouse honestly does not know.
Mhm.
So the next one is emotional withdrawal. So
Mhm.
the spouse who is not taking accountability may start to withdraw emotionally from the relationship. So this is because they may feel guilty or ashamed of their behavior, or they may feel like they are not being heard or understood.
Yeah.
In order to find out, you got to communicate to figure out which one are you. Are you guilty and ashamed, or you are not being heard and misunderstood?
Yeah. You don't want to emotionally withdraw. That is not a healthy thing at all. And it will certainly lead to relationship dissatisfaction. That's the next one. Because if the lack of accountability is not addressed, overall, you're going to be dissatisfied within the relationship. And this is mainly because both of the spouses are going to feel like you're not getting what you need from your spouse within the relationship. That is no way to have a relationship. And it's certainly not a loving, healthy relationship. So be sure to, like my husband says, talk about it. And we're going to be sure to give you some tips on doing this.
Yeah. So, in some cases, a lack of accountability can even lead to the end of the relationship.
Yeah.
So now I know you all hear it in the social media, especially the red pill people. Women don't like taking accountability in relationships. Women don't like to be accountable. So if one spouse is not willing to take responsibility for their actions and to work on improving the relationship, it can be difficult for the other spouse to continue in the relationship. Can't do it alone.
Yeah.
I think it goes both ways. Depends on who you are. Some men don't like to take accountability
Yeah.
in the relationship. Some women don't.
Yeah. It's
And
not
then
gender specific.
no, it's not. It really isn't.
Yeah.
So it goes both ways.
Yeah. Yeah.
Accountability is also your responsibilities in the relationship. So if you're not producing up to your role in the relationship and what you all agreed to, then there you may have issues as well, and that may lead up to a separation.
Yeah. And in particular, it makes me think about the fact that if you if you end up leaving this relationship and you don't address the accountability, you're going to end up going into your next relationship, repeating the same habits, the same patterns, and it's going to ultimately lead to the same result. So it's super important, no matter where you go, what relationship, you have to address being accountable. There's no way around it. There's no escaping it. That is just comes with the territory
Right.
of being in a relationship.
And we mentioned multiple ways in what accountability looks like in a relationship. Um, Take accountability before you get in a relationship. So if you know that you have issues, or you don't know you don't have issues, but relationships are not working out for you, go seek some help. Talk to a counselor and thing,
Yeah.
or something about you yourself, and you may discover that there are things that you need to take accountability for, involving your actions and the things that you say, your mannerisms, your habits, and things like that.
Yeah.
You may not be attentive to other people because you
Mhm.
may have not, had to have that opportunity or needed to do these things, but you're wondering why my relationships are failing, or why I'm
Right.
keep having these situations or issues in my relationship and things like that, because it may be you
Right.
not being accountable for past traumas and things that you need to have cleared prior to getting into a relationship, because
Yeah.
you're going to bring it into the relationship anyway.
Yeah. And you can't cop out.
No, so don't try to blame that on somebody else. You really need to take accountability. It's okay. Hopefully you're with someone who loves you, and they're going to tell you it's okay. We're going to work on this together.
Yeah,
Um,
but if you're not and your relationship
yeah, it's gonna
fails,
fall apart.
yeah, you certainly have to take that moment of self-reflection. And you know, we're not saying that after a relationship, the common thing that's circulating around is the concept of loving yourself after a relationship and all of that. That
Yeah,
is all great, fine, and
right.
dandy, but after a relationship, it's a lot more important that you're actually bringing into awareness, into the accountability of what I could have done better. What do I need to change? What do I need to fix on? So then that way you're not bringing those old bad habits, those
Right.
old bad patterns into that new relationship.
And it's not just it's all relationships. I just wanted to add that it's not just a what you call it, an intimate relationship.
Romantic. Yep.
It's not a marriage. It could be a friendship you've had
Yep.
with someone. It could be your
Brother and sister.
siblings.
Yep.
It could be an uncle and aunt. Any type of when relationships end bad, it is traumatic. It is a situation. It leaves a hole in you that you need to fill with something.
Yeah.
Ignoring it will only allow for triggers.
Yeah.
Yeah, and to be honest with you, that's what it does. And I don't think a lot of people realize this or think that they got things that they need to iron out, but you do
Yeah.
before you get into a relationship because you're carrying all of that with you into your new relationship.
Yeah.
And it will surmount somewhere. Well, it will show up somewhere. So and if it does, you take accountability for that and own it and say it's my fault. You know, I did this.
Yeah.
I was triggered this way. I didn't need to be this way, and I apologize
Yeah.
for it, and then go get help if anything. So realize that, understand that, because it's not fair to try to hold someone else accountable for things that are messed up in your life
Yeah.
that you need to fix.
Yeah, it's okay to love yourself afterwards,
Right,
but
get yourself fixed.
love
Get some
yourself
help.
enough to get help. Yeah, that's so true.
And don't be too stubborn either not to ask for help.
Yeah. Now that we know how damaging lack of accountability can be to a relationship, let's go over why accountability is really healthy within a relationship and how it can actually benefit your relationship. Because, in particular, when spouses are accountable for each other, it really shows that they're willing to be honest and that they're willing to be transparent with each other. And this is going to help build trust. That's going to sustain your relationship over time. You need that honesty, you need that transparency. You cannot run from that at all.
Yeah, but accountability helps to ensure that both spouses are taking responsibility for their actions and that they are both contributing to the relationship in a meaningful way. So this can help to promote fairness and equality in the relationship.
Yeah, when y'all throw around, my equal, well, being your equal actually means that you're willing to contribute in a way that is meaningful to your spouse, not just for you, but to your spouse as well. You need to promote that fairness. So if you mess up, if you're not doing things right, if you got some things you need to work on, you have to take that responsibility for it so that it's fair and equal within the relationship and not, again, fostering that resentment because you're trying to put it all on your spouse and be like, oh, it's just you. I ain't got to do nothing.
So when spouses are able to hold each other accountable for their actions, it can help them to resolve conflict more effectively and easily.
Yeah.
So this is because they are more rooted to the problem and better able to identify the root of the problem and work together to find a solution.
Yeah.
Accountability helps to create a more positive and supportive environment in the relationship. So this is because spouses feel safe and respected, and they know that they can count on each other. So this will help to strengthen the relationship overall.
Yeah. Having that safe space. That's what we all need in this world, is that safe space within your spouse and especially within your household. You should really know that, it's okay for me not to be my best. It's okay for me to mess up sometimes. You still love me, you're there, you care, and you're going to make sure that I'm accountable for these things so that then we can work on things and the relationship gets better. That's a beautiful thing. It will really strengthen the relationship over time, for sure.
But make sure you all do work on those things because you don't want the person to feel like they're being taken advantage of or being taken for granted.
Yeah. Don't just say you're going to do something and don't do it. Right. Yeah. It requires practice, lots of practice. Really, really does.
Yep. So we have some examples. So for example, a spouse who is accountable for spending will be more likely to communicate with their spouse about financial decisions and to make sure that they are both on the same page, especially when it
Mhm.
comes to a big purchase.
Mhm.
Um, you want to make sure that you all communicate about that equally and together
Yeah.
and understanding what you all are buying and why you all need it.
Yeah. Finances is a big one. That is a number. What was it out
Number
of the?
three.
Yeah. Third reasons why people get divorced. Yeah.
Number
Finances
two,
is a big one.
infidelity. Oh, excuse me. Number two, infidelity, and number one, irreconcilable differences.
Yeah, not communicating. Yeah, I mean that's a huge one. So it looks in all different ways. Another one, a spouse who is accountable for their
Excuse me.
time is going to be more likely to be respectful of their spouse's time and make sure that they are both getting what they need from the relationship. So that's important. You got to be accountable for each other in that way as well.
Yep, a spouse who is accountable for their emotions will be more likely to communicate their feelings in a healthy way and to work on resolving conflict in a constructive manner. That's what I was
Yeah.
saying in the beginning. It's best to communicate before you have a problem, communicate when you are triggered in a healthy way so that you don't trigger your spouse into an argument or conflict. You don't have to be walking on eggshells. This is something that can be worked on, and so, two things. And is this something that can be fixed as well? Is it?
Mm-hmm. Is it? Maybe.
Uh,
You okay?
yeah, I'm good.
Okay. Yes, that is so true. Sorry to mess you up on that, but
No,
that
no
is
way.
so true. So
Yeah.
true. So let's go over some tips for bringing up accountability in a relationship so that you're more successful. Because for the guy that wrote in, maybe, bringing up this accountability aspect or what needs to be addressed, you can maybe use a little work on. So then that way you're better, your spouse is able to receive what you have to say a little better. It can never hurt, to try to get what you need communicated in a better way across, I guess.
Yep. So choose the right time and place. Don't do it when you both are inflamed and upset and mad at each other.
Right.
Avoid bringing up accountability when the other person is stressed or tired as well. That may be the reason why they're having accountability issues also.
Yeah.
So it is also important to have the conversation in a private setting where you will not be interrupted.
Yeah, it can be kind of hard to point out, I guess, your spouse's account, if they're doing something that can, kind of trigger you or in a way that you don't want to be done. That can certainly be harder to bring up in a more public setting. It can bring up more of those fears of an
Don't do it.
embarrassment and
Yeah, don't do it.
yeah, it's just not always going to work. So that's why we always say making sure to be aware of the timing on when you do things. That plays a huge part on if your person is going to receive what you're trying to say a little more.
Be specific and objective. So avoid blaming or criticizing the other person.
Yeah.
Instead, focus on specific behaviors that have had a negative impact on you.
Yeah.
So don't refuse saying that you did this to me and you did that and what have you.
Yeah.
Focus on what the issue is, because like I said in the beginning, regardless of what you're going through, what your triggers are, you are able to solve your problems. You
Yeah.
are.
Yeah. Yeah. And you don't want, in order to create that safe space in a way, you don't just want to start off attacking, right? Because that's going to put the person on defense mode. They're going to want to come back and attack you back. So if you can address it in a way like, hey, when this happened, it made me feel like this. I would prefer if we could, do X, Y, and Z, or, just focusing on the behavior that you want to be changed, how it impacted you, and how your spouse in particular could move in a better way so that, you're both on one accord overall.
Yeah. So be open to hearing the other person's perspective. It's important to remember that
Yeah.
accountability is a two-way street. So be willing to listen to the other person's side of the story and acknowledge your own role in any conflict.
Yeah. Yeah, you got to do that. So both ways. That kind of goes both ways. You got to think about what, you may have contributed to why your spouse is going crazy or ignoring you or yelling or, abandoning you. Whatever took place, you got to kind of sit back and think on your own side, how did I play a part in this? What could I have done a little better? We all, again, it's a two-way street. So both spouses have played some role into the negative cycle. So you really just have to be aware of, hey, what could I have done myself a little better? And that happens on both parts. And then you can certainly move on to, like you always say, implementing those new behaviors and actually doing them, practicing. 'Cause that's really what it's about. Every conflict that happens, every situation that happens, don't look at it as an opportunity to beat up on my spouse or criticize my spouse or be angry with my spouse. Look at it as the opportunity to practice those new behaviors that you said you were going to implement. That is really where you step up and you show, hey, I am going to do this a little different. Although you really made me mad this time, I'm not going to yell at you. This time I'm going to cool down and come at you when I'm, able to do this in a more constructive manner.
Right. Yeah. Because the whole thing is that we don't like to argue. We don't like
Yeah.
situations to where we have to be defensive and try to win an argument and be competitive in our relationship.
Yeah.
The main goal and what we're telling you, we're laying the blueprint down in order for you all to understand that there's another option when it comes to conflict, dealing with accountability.
Yeah.
So there is a way in which you are practicing these, methods. And then what you're going to see, like I said before, is that you're going to be arguing less, fighting less, and then you'll be able to have more productive conversations when you are stuck in a conflict of some sorts.
Yeah, and hopefully you're even able to take accountability more, like where you'll be able to catch yourself.
Apologizing.
Yeah, way before your spouse brings it up.
Yeah, one of the hardest things people do is they do not like to apologize.
Yeah.
Even if they triggered somebody, even if that person they triggered is being defensive and attacking them, even after they've had an argument, they still don't apologize. So it helps. And then think about it, like I've said it before, apology helps heals wounds. It really does. It helps heals wounds and just lets the other person know, or your spouse know, that you really do care. You really do care about what you said to them, and you sorry for being mean, disrespectful, etc. So it helps to heal those wounds, and so that allows you all to move forward, preventing any hopefully it prevents any sort of new traumas that may arise because you all are together. But it will help that other person know that you are really serious about being accountable overall. So
yeah, for sure.
So be willing to compromise. Great segue. So it is unlikely that you will be able or always be able to get everything you want when you are bringing up accountability.
Yeah.
So be willing to meet the other person halfway and to find solutions that work for the both of you. So understand that if you have a situation to where there's a conflict and it's because of something that is left unresolved, then it is time for you both to sit down and talk about ways that you all can compromise and fix this to make each other feel better.
Yeah.
Don't hold it in. Don't try to, be resentful about this, because you have an opportunity to fix this and to come up front about what it is that's bothering you or triggering you, in which, your spouse can help you, especially if you all are having a communication sit down about it. So that is a time to be accountable and use compromising strategies in order to figure out, hey, how can we fix this?
Yeah.
Because now you're inviting your spouse to come in and help fix the situation with you.
Yeah. And that's big. It's really big, especially because you're merging two lives and you both want to get what you want out of the situation, in the sense of something that you both can live with. It's not going to be the ideal for both of you sometimes, and that's okay too. But it's just got to be something you can live with, something that, all right, I take it, that's okay. And that's life, right? Like, that's part of growing up. You're not going to get your way all the time. So you have to be okay with that. And that's why a relationship is really for the mature, because if you're not willing to compromise, then, relationships might not really be for you. So you got to do that.
So fostering accountability won't happen overnight.
Yeah.
But you and your spouse can and will change and create a healthy relationship if you are willing to do so.
Yeah.
So you have to be willing to put in the work. So if you and your spouse are struggling with accountability in your relationship, it may be helpful to talk to a therapist or a counselor, or a consultant of sorts like us.
Mhm.
So a third party can help you to really be helpful when it comes to identifying the reasons why accountability is difficult for you or your
Yeah.
spouse. And to develop strategies to cultivate accountability in an effective way in your relationship.
Yeah.
Because often at times what happens is that if you all can't resolve something, you do need a third party or somebody
Yeah.
outside of the relationship who can see it and coming from two individuals.
Yeah.
Because what's happening is that, especially when you all are resentful, you don't care what the other person got to say. You
Yeah.
just want to get what you got to say out, and then darn well what you're saying is going through the ears of your spouse, and because they're waiting to attack you with something else, which
Mhm.
has nothing to do with resolving the issues of the conflict.
Yeah.
So mediators are good because they can help you to um, point out the things that you both are trying to say to each other
Mhm.
without hearing all of the static or repetitious, you know, language that's going on back and forth, back and forth, back and forth.
Yeah. And it's unbiased. It should.
Right.
That's why we always encourage, if you don't go to us, but any married couple or married counselor or married therapist is super important, because you want that objective view from a marriage mindset, right? Where the person is actively knowing that, hey, this can be worked through, this can be worked on. It's not something that you just up and jump ship about. You really can work through things and develop strategies and put them into place, actually practice them, be willing to do that. It's never going to be just one of you. You both have to be willing to do that. So for this person who wrote in particular, try this, go through again, see how you may have approached your spouse before when it comes to accountability, or anybody out here, just see how you're actually bringing up the concept of accountability in whatever the conflict is, and look and see if there is a way that maybe you can approach it in a more kinder way or a more objective way, to where you're not, again, like we talk about, criticizing or blaming, but just doing it so that the person is able to better receive it. And certainly if it's not effective, if what you've done is not able to be done, maybe it's a lot more trauma that's rooted in the relationship that is really going to require a third party, don't hesitate getting that help. I think a lot of marriages suffer because you don't take the time to get that help when you need it, right? You don't want to just sit back and say, oh, I can figure it out myself, and then you don't figure it out. Because what happens is the relationship fails. I think in our community, we have to get okay with finding the help, getting the help, and actually being able to work through things from people that have made it work themselves. That's a good standpoint to get advice from. So, yeah, I think this is a good one.
Yep. Well, what do you say? Don't suffer in silence.
Yeah, yeah. It's sad, and especially when you wait too long, and then you try to get help when it's a little too late, when it's too much resentment built up, when the trust is really broken. A lot of times getting a third party help is a good preventive measure as well, to help you be able to develop those strategies ahead of time. For all those that are tuning in tonight, great job. You're already on track, whether you're in a relationship or not. You're already on track to knowing, hey, how can I do this a little better? How can I, do healthier ways of communicating within relationships in general? So kudos to you for being here tonight. And we really hope that you have gained some valuable information from what we've talked about. I know accountability, again, can be triggering. That's why we call it what it is. Some people don't just, don't want to talk about it. You're like, but this isn't a bash fest. We're not here to beat you down. Would certainly, though, to bring awareness of what needs to be done. So, yeah.
Yeah. So with that being said, Blueprint family, do anybody have anything that they want to say, discuss, comment on, join in? Anything?
Yeah. Trying to think if it was anything that we missed as far as accountability, because this is a topic we haven't really talked about before. You got something? Oh, no, you just reading it.
Yeah, just reading the names up there. Thank you all for joining us. I think this is a great show, especially for those people out there who can't seem to find resolution in their relationship, dealing with arguments and stuck in that negative cycle
Yeah.
that they are in. This may
Yeah.
be a situation of which you all need to be held accountable for your actions and things that you all are saying to each other and the things that you are not doing.
Yeah, or addressing those fears, right? That fear of judgment, that fear of criticism, the fear of failure, all of that plays a huge, huge part in not being able to take accountability. But it's okay, let giving into fears isn't necessary. One great way is to recognize it. You see it, it's there. Let it be. Don't attach to it, right? Look at it from an objective standpoint and just see, hey, this is here. Where did this come from? How did you get here? What can I do to help, ease this fear? Because it's really what it's about. That's
Right.
what world is,
Right.
it's
And then if
fear.
you need help, voice that to your spouse about
Yeah.
it. Say that,
Yeah.
hey, I'm going through this.
Yeah.
Let's try to fix this. Let's fix
Right.
this. Don't be scared of it. Try
Or
to
conflict. Scared
Right.
of conflict.
trying to find ways to say, hey, we got a problem here. Let's fix it.
Mhm.
You'll be joyous about fixing conflict and then situations that trigger you.
Yeah.
As the more that you do this, you'll find joy and peace in this, because that's ultimately, once you defeat these fears, that's what comes about on the other end, is joy and peace
Yeah.
about the relationship being new. And then, like my wife said before, you'll get better at it, understanding how to resolve conflict and addressing it.
Yeah, and have some growth.
Right.
That's the beautiful. We always say that, as my favorite motto, is that conflict creates movement, and movement helps for growth. So never run away from conflict. That's something that we don't do. We never shy away from conflict. You got to be all right to say, hey, what's up? What you hear? What you trying to change? What's going on? What needs to be fixed? What needs to be addressed? Then is where you can step into the beautiful relationship, to where you can see, hey, this is the better way of doing things, and we can create a better relationship, because that's what it's about. You got to create it. Yeah.
I think that's it.
Yeah. Again, thank y'all for tuning in on a Monday night. We got a fresh week of topics to dig on into this week, so I'm excited for this week.
Yep, and we got a
Yeah.
lot of viewers, especially on Instagram. Thank you all. We got like over 7,000 subscribers on Instagram, and
Yes.
like over 500 something on YouTube. I don't
Yeah.
know how many on Facebook. I gotta check in on my Facebook family and see how y'all are doing up there.
And growing.
Yeah.
That's the beautiful thing. We're just getting started. I think we're 9 months into this now. This has been about 9 months doing this. We
Since
started in February.
Yeah.
The end of February. Yeah. So that's always cool. And as you grow with us, you're going to see our channel evolve into new ways. So we're excited to have you all on this journey. Again, thank you all.
Yeah. But yeah, we are laying down blueprints and solutions and resolutions to situations. I, for one, think that this is probably by far the only channel that's doing this. So I want you all to like, share, subscribe to our channel. Let other people know that need to hear this information, and tell them that we are the only people that are doing this. Or one of our best compliments was that me and my wife are the couple of the year.
Oh.
And that was in the middle of probably like 3 months in to what we were doing this show.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that. That's sweet.
So a lot of you all shared those thoughts about us, and we really appreciate it. And I can honestly say that yes, we are.
I mainly just think it's a great opportunity to be an example for you all. I always say that we like to hold the vibrational space, so that then you all are able to latch onto that and create the same thing within your reality. That's really what we're trying to do here. It's not on, we're not trying to put on a show. As you see, we ain't trying to be flashy and all that stuff, because it ain't about that. It's really not. So yeah, we appreciate that.
No, it's about the common sense part. I mean, it's about what we may have not have learned about relationships growing up, because we haven't seen a healthy relationship and what it's supposed to look like.
Yeah.
But we can definitely show you and provide that information to you. And especially if you have a topic that you would like for us to discuss next time, please let us know. And if you want to submit it, you can submit it to www.wifeconomics.com/submit a question. And we'll be more than happy to present that on our next show. So, Blueprint family, if you all don't have anything else, and you don't have peace.